one of the misconceptions, Michelle, is that people think that you need to invest lots of money to make money. One of the things that I'm excited about franchising is that I have things that are on the lower end of my investment level, things that might only be a couple $100,000 all in, where you can scale it. One of my acquaintances here in Houston, he started a water restoration company, and he built it up to an 8-figure business when it came to revenue, just from one truck. Yes, you can invest and have multi-unit franchises that are brick and mortar and make a lot of money that way by scaling that way, but also through the service way is one way to do it as well.
Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nudluck, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Adam. Adam, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Michelle. So nice to be here with you.
Awesome. So give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
So my name is Adam Goldman, and I'm here in Houston, Texas, and I'm a franchise coach and consultant.
Wow. So how did you get into franchise consulting?
So just kind of stumbled into this by mistake, right? So I bought a office cleaning master franchise 14 years ago through a coach. And around 8.5 years ago, or 7 years ago, what happened was someone that was my neighbor decided to give me an unsolicited offer to invest in my business. And so just kind of wasn't sure what to do next, just kind of stumbled into franchise coaching.
Very fun. So he wanted to buy your franchise, and did you end up going like, yeah, no, that's not the way it works. Here's what you got to do, or you say you stumbled into it. How did that happen? So
I was already a coach part-time.
Yeah.
Had my business running, my office cleaning master franchise.
Yeah.
But when I sold my business, my franchise business, I had a lot more time on my hands. And I had a lot of experience because I was a franchisor and a franchisee. So kind of got to see it from both sides.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome. So when you're working with people now, do they tend to be franchisors that are placing you in with people going, hey, come, we're looking for good people? Or is it the potential franchisees that are going, hey, I'm really thinking this is a good idea, but I don't have a clue where to start? How does it all go down?
So the way it works is I'm a matchmaker. And so I have a portfolio of pre-screened franchise brands, Michelle, in 75 different industries. And what I'm doing is I'm working with people that really don't know much about franchises, right? And I'm here to kind of match them. My service is free for people that are potential franchisees, both in the United States and in Canada.
Very cool. So what would make somebody want to get a franchise?
So there's so many different avatars for the average potential franchisee. It could be someone that's kind of at a later stage of their career that's not ready to kind of retire and want something to do. And it could be someone younger in their career that's just kind of looking for multiple streams of income or some sort of security blanket in case they get laid off.
Nice. So when I think of buying a franchise, one of the things that I've kind of sort of always wanted to do was have a car wash. Because to me, car washes were the ultimate, and you have a business that you run, but you're not necessarily there all day long with it. Now, some people that I know that own car washes would argue that comment, but does that tend to be why people are looking for franchises, or do they just want a turnkey system? What's their motivation?
So when you're buying a franchise, you're buying a brand and you're buying a system, and they're both important, right? So a lot of people that invest in franchises, they rave about how much money they've saved in having a system that works, that's turnkey, right? And the brand is important as well.
Tell me more.
So what I'm saying is, like, for instance, if you were to start your own car wash, right? You probably wouldn't have an accounting system. You wouldn't know who the supplier to be to actually buy these different things. And you wouldn't know how many to benchmark, how many cars per hour. Having a network and having a great franchisor, when it works well, could really save you money.
Nice. So when it comes to kind of, obviously the learning curve is shorter, not having to go through all the bumps and humps, having a community of people around you to support you that are also in those businesses, helping to kind of figure out what's going on. Are there any other kind of personality types or any indication that somebody might make a good franchisee?
I'll tell you what's a personality type that wouldn't make one: someone that's kind of too entrepreneurial, right? And what I mean by that is that if you're going to open a McDonald's and sell gyros and make your golden arches some other shape, you're probably not the right person for that, right? It's a different type of entrepreneur, someone that's not afraid to follow a system. They can tweak the system, but they really get the value from following it.
Nice. So give me 1 second. Awesome. So the mindset of a franchisee, especially right now, have you noticed that things have changed kind of in the last 10 years when it comes to purchasing franchises?
Oh my gosh, it goes through cycles just like any other business.
Yeah.
So if you and I were to speak before the pandemic, it seemed like everyone was investing in cyclical businesses that were brick and mortar, things such as gyms or hair salons or salon suites. And then the pandemic happened, and then everyone started investing in essential businesses, things such as maid services. Everyone was cooped up at their house and they needed some help with that. And now in 2024, we're finding the market changing again, where people are investing in brick and mortar businesses that are cyclical and still investing in non-brick and mortar businesses as well. So we're less focused on the widget and we're more focused on these different brands that or companies that have the right culture that might fit our candidates.
So what kind of aspects of a personality kind of fit together? Like does somebody have to have an interest, say, in healthcare in order to buy a healthcare business? Or is it just that they like systems and operations and rules and regulations because there's a ton of them?
So one of the things that's fascinating about the franchising world, Michelle, is it's one of the only industries that I know where no experience a lot of times is a plus. So for instance, if you were to buy a business, let's call it a pool or some sort of a swim school, right? If you had your own swim school or knew anything about teaching kids, they probably wouldn't want you to be that franchisee because they want to teach you how to do it their way. Now they're looking for general business acumen, right? Being able to hire people, being able to balance a book. And if you have those, it's great, but actually just being open-minded and maybe not even having experience before. One of my stories of a franchisee that didn't necessarily go so well is I had this one candidate that was the top salesperson for his service brand, but he had no idea how to bid. And so he lost money every time he bid out his jobs. And it was really sad.
Yeah, that's when you learn the hard way that there's a lot of skills in business that you don't necessarily have, and you don't know what you don't know. So now when people are looking at franchise, have you noticed an influx of people that have been working kind of corporate, got a buyout, and are looking to kind of start their own thing?
So in many ways, the franchising world is inversely related to layoffs and unemployment rates. So I don't know if you know this or not, but last month, the unemployment rate in the United States was the worst month of layoffs, especially in the tech industry, since 2009, even worse than the pandemic. And a lot of people aren't talking about this very much. So we anticipate a lot of people being much more excited about franchising the next couple of months. Look, what's also happening too is that people just kind of got this sense after the pandemic. They're like, wait a second here. I have this freedom and flexibility, something called flex work. I only need to show up 1 or 2 or maybe 3 times a week to the office. No one's really caring very much. I want this again. I'm more interested in this. And what I found is that I've had 3 times the activity or the interest in my business after the pandemic than before the pandemic.
Nice. Well, and I think there's a huge misnomer on that, especially amongst managers, thinking, oh, well, people aren't really working because, the dog's in the office and I can hear the kids in the back room. And it's like, well, no, people tend to get a lot of work regardless of what's going on around them. And in fact, when you own a franchise, like you're clearly going to be working the whole, at least in the setup. So talk to me about kind of how much work does it take to get one up and running, and like what can people expect as far
So
as
there are
that goes?
2 schools of thought, Michelle. The first school of thought is that I'm going to do nothing. The franchise brand's going to do everything, right? And I just give them money and they'll make money for me and that'll be great. The second school of thought is I'm going to have to do everything. The franchise brand's only taking my money, not giving me any support at all. And that's not the case either. The reality is somewhere in between, right? And every franchise brand is different when it comes to time commitment. I would say that things are typically very, very busy at the beginning, even if it's something called a semi-absentee opportunity, which means that you can keep your day job and do this on the side. But it's just a really, really, it can be something which takes a lot of hours or not. People hire managers. It's just all across the board. It's really hard to paint the industry with one brush.
Have you noticed that there's kind of an acumen that somebody might have that would own multiple franchises? Because I know a lot of people that once they've owned one franchise, they'll go and buy multiples. They're like, hey, this works. we got something going here. What kind of personality is it that can take that on?
Well, it's interesting you should mention that, Michelle, because I'm actually talking to a candidate now in Toronto, right? And his whole thing is he's tired of the cold weather. He's doing something called an E2 visa, right? Where he's able to come to the United States and get a visa through a franchise. There's a 100% success rate out of all my candidates that do this. And so he's actually not looking to buy just one, he's looking to buy multiple. And I would say it's the kind of person that's smart. And the reason why is you can actually kind of have less risk if you have two different businesses that are totally different than one another. One of my candidates last year bought a service business and a swimming school. I can't think of anything that's more different. In the past couple of years, I've had someone that bought mosquito spraying and concrete paving. So it's just good to kind of spread things out.
Nice. So talk to me more about the opportunities that people have to start businesses, particularly in the States, understanding that I happen to be in Canada, but a lot of our listeners are in the States, but a lot of them don't necessarily realize that they can open up businesses in different states. They can open up businesses in other countries, do a whole lot of things with them.
So look, what my strong suggestion is, as someone that owned real estate outside the United States, where it was just kind of hard to kind of manage it, is for that first brand to kind of have it locally, right? Because you can actually be there and see what's going on, especially if you're running it through managers. My experience is that if something's far away, then there's more chance of something happening.
Right. And I know too that there's a lot of movement in the States, particularly, no offense, California, but away from California and into things like Nashville, into Texas. Not that those are kind of necessarily the only places, but is there kind of a strong suit there? Have you noticed that? Or where are people kind of migrating to?
So that's a great question. So in the franchising world, Michelle, we actually have something in the United States called registration and non-registration states. So California is a registration state. Washington State is one as well. And what that means is that there are just more regulations along the franchising world, kind of like just general business regulations. So my experience is that lots of my placements are in non-registration states, places like Texas or Florida or Nashville or South Carolina or North Carolina.
Very cool. So when somebody starts a franchise, do they, in your opinion, have a better chance of creating a 7-figure, 8-figure business for themselves or even income?
Absolutely. And the reason why is it's all about the system. So if you're starting something from scratch, I love the book, The E-Myth by Gerber, because he talks about how if you're starting a business on your own and you don't have any structure around you, you have to do everything. You're the secretary, you're the CFO, you're the CEO, you're the salesperson as well. You can't scale as easily. If you have this kind of scaffolding in order to grow and scale, then the chances of reaching 7 or 8 figures is much higher.
So when somebody's looking at franchises, is that, I'm assuming for the most part, other than lifestyle, that income is going to be kind of one of their key requirements or key indicators as to which one they buy. Am I on track, off track? Let's start there.
Sure.
Because, there's lifestyle businesses that, allow somebody to travel. There's going to be certain businesses that, you have safety, security. You could stay in the city for the rest of your life and be just fine. Income's going to be a big one. If people are looking at kind of a higher income, what kind of franchises might they be looking at?
So it depends on the person, right? So, I mean, people come to the table with different skill sets. One of the misconceptions, Michelle, is that people think that you need to invest lots of money to make money. One of the things that I'm excited about franchising is that I have things that are on the lower end of my investment level, things that might only be a couple $100,000 all in, where you can scale it. One of my acquaintances here in Houston, he started a water restoration company, and he built it up to an 8-figure business when it came to revenue, just from one truck. So yes, you can invest and have multi-unit franchises that are brick and mortar and make a lot of money that way by scaling that way, but also through the service way is one way to do it as well.
Nice. So I'm assuming that when somebody is having these conversations, either with you or the franchisors, looking at the potential of something and what it can make, are there because I know it's kind of a silly question because you ask, well, in your business, how much money could you make? It's like, well, how big's the market? but that's not necessarily kind of the reality of it. As you mentioned earlier, it's that aptitude. How much do you want to run the business? How apt are you to want a bigger team? Because I'm assuming a bigger team is going to be able to help in that. Although you mentioned this guy getting over 8 figures with one truck, that seems kind of fantastical.
So what I meant was he started with one truck, was able to get to 8 figures eventually. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So is that hiring people, is that tend to be a part of, like, I know McDonald's, everybody I think knows the whole story of McDonald's.
Whoops.
That they teach you
Sorry.
how to hire. Yep.
I thought I was on airplane mode. Forgive me.
Oh, no worries. None at all. So everybody kind of knows the story of McDonald's University. You have to go and kind of study the business and before you get to run the franchise. Are kind of all franchises like that? Or is it some of them, it's kind of, well, here's the thing. Let's see what you can do with it.
Every brand's different, right? Some are more stringent than others when it comes to brand standards, right? I would say that if you're buying into this and paying a royalty fee or franchise fees, there's value in having a system or structure.
Absolutely. And that system and structure tends to, I'm assuming, create kind of, higher revenues, higher profits.
Sure. All of the
Maybe.
above, right? Yes. Yes. I mean, look, if you ask McDonald's operator or Chick-fil-A operator, frankly, why are they making money? It's because of the process. They figured out this way to take these teenagers and the whole system. I mean, it's just a work of art to what way to Chick-fil-A. Not sure if that's in Canada yet or no, but just seeing how efficient it is, the way they get people through the line. It's a money-making machine. I love it. Cash cow. No pun
let's talk
intended.
about Chick-fil-A for a second, because for those who don't know, it has created a bit of a phenomenon in the franchising world. What have they done, in your opinion, differently than, say, the McDonald's or the Popeyes or the Mary Brown's? Why Chick-fil-A?
So Chick-fil-A, by the way, in my opinion, is not a true franchise. You don't build any equity. You can only own 1 or 2, and you can't sell it to anyone else. You're pretty much buying a very, very high-paying job in which you're spending a lot of time and effort there. They can take away from you at any time. So it's a FINO, a franchise in name only, right? In many ways. But what Chick-fil-A has going for it, though, it's what I love about it, and what I talk about a lot of the brands that I have that are similar to Chick-fil-A, in that it's about the customer experience. I'll give you an example. You want to go to another place, but you just don't feel great going there. When you go to Chick-fil-A, whatever it is, maybe it's the smiles of the people behind or the decor inside. It's just the whole vibe of being there. It's like friendly. It's a good place to be. It's a great customer experience.
I got to ask you before I let you go, is there any franchise that you've worked with that you're going, okay, that is super left field. I did not know that this was maybe a business or something like that.
So it's not on my inventory, but I hear that there's a franchise called Geese Chasers. And what the franchise is you literally take dogs, and the whole purpose of the dogs is to go to golf courses and to chase geese.
That is a little left field. That is awesome.
Yes.
So, hey, if you love dogs,
there you go.
Maybe that's your franchise of choice. Awesome. Is there any question that somebody should be asking? Somebody that just wants kind of a lifestyle thing. I just want to make 100 grand. I just want, life to be good, versus somebody that's like, I want $1 million business. I want a $10 million business. Like, what kind of questions should those people be asking other than stating the obvious of this is what I want?
I think the question that should ask themselves is, do they really want this, right? Because if I look at the things that the people that have succeeded or not, if you look at anything related to IT, is it user malfunction or is it machine error? And I'd say that most of the times that things don't work out, it's because someone is not following the system, whatever. I'm a true believer that if someone really wants to do well, they can do well. So it's all about how much initiative you have, what kind of effort you put in. Look, one of the biggest drivers I have for people that are going to be successful are people that just want this, that have motivation to succeed, whatever that reason might be. Maybe it's a legacy, or maybe they want to better their situation.
I love it. So In a moment, I'm going to ask you about a Cinderella story of one of your clients. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.
So I am super excited to hear about a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
So I have these amazing candidates in Ohio. I just love them. He's a vice president for a Fortune 500 company in technology, always wanted to be an entrepreneur. His wife is an amazing person as well. And they were looking at different brands, and I really like the salon suite industry. Salon suites are an industry where you kind of go and it's a real estate play. It's very hands off. There are not any employees at all. You go to some sort of a landlord and you say, look, you have this space that used to be a Best Buy or Chuck E. Cheese. In fact, within a 5-mile radius of my house, there are 2 examples like this. And let me rent this out at X. And I'm going to go ahead and rent it out to beauty professionals at a multiple of whatever I'm renting it out as. They actually were full within a couple months of investing in this. They were able to expand this into like 3 to 5 locations where they bought the real estate underneath for one of the locations. And it's just been an amazing experience for both of them.
Yes, I love that. So all of these kind of examples make it sound really simple. You just buy a turnkey business and life is good. You're rocking it. Are there any mistakes that, let's start with before they get a hold of you, and we'll go into what they might do when they get onto a franchise. But when people are just kind of looking on their own, what kind of mistakes do you see people making more often than not?
Well, I would say that one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't really have any expertise to look at this, right? I mean, I think the analogy is you have a cold or you have some sort of medical issue, you go to a doctor or a medical professional. If you don't really know much about franchise, just by going online and kind of doing a Google search, you might get down a rabbit hole with a brand that's probably not a great fit or match. And being able to kind of pre-vet or pre-screen these brands ahead of time is very helpful.
So when you're working with somebody, talk to me about kind of what's the process that you take them through. How do you know if something's a good fit for someone?
So thank you for asking about the process, because what happens is we first talk to people and if someone's not a fit, I'm going to tell them, right? So typically people need at least $50,000 in cash and $150,000 in net worth, including their retirement accounts or their house or equity in their house. And then they fill out a survey. And so after they fill out this survey, I schedule a more in-depth conversation, because the better I know someone, the better matches I can make for them. Then I write a 2-page letter or model where I'm not even worried about brand, but just more focused on characteristics of an ideal franchise. Things such as how many employees they want, what kind of employees, do they want to run the business semi-absentee? Do they want to run it full-time? And then I go ahead and connect them to 3 brands that are the best fit in their area. And then what happens is they go through this process with these pre-screened brands. It might be anywhere from 4 weeks to 3 months or 4 months. And throughout the course of that, they go through different steps, and I'm there along the way for the process. It's really a time-honored process that's been around for 20 years plus that I went through that really ensures that people find the right fit.
Love it. Because I know a lot of people, they make a good decision based on how they feel about it, but they haven't necessarily done due diligence. So when it comes to due diligence, what do you consider that to be?
So for me, the most important step, it's really when people talk to existing franchisees that frankly don't really have any stake in the game if they buy or not. So if you're looking at a franchise brand in Calgary, right, probably look at someone in Seattle or in British Columbia, Vancouver, and see what they say, right? And kind of hear what they have to tell you. And that's really a great way to kind of vet it and see how things are going.
I bet you Target wish they had done that before they moved into Canada. Here's another example of somebody that doesn't really understand their market.
I didn't know Target's in Canada.
And they're not anymore.
Okay, God, there you go.
They bought out Zellers and figured that they could go into that kind of the Walmart competition level, and just didn't work. So I think they've actually somebody's bought Zellers back. the name anyway, so that they can open them up again. I think it's
I
kinda
think
funny.
you seem as if the kind of person that would like Target with this whole red theme that you have going on.
Right. Target, as we call it.
That's right.
I love it. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start that journey with you?
Best way to get a hold of me is just to go straight to my website, franchisecoach.net, and go ahead and book a time. And let's see if we're a fit for each other.
I love it. So we will, of course, have Adam's link in the show notes. Go ahead and scroll down, click on the link, open it up in a new browser because we're not done yet. So Adam, I get to ask you, at what point in life did you know you're a special kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
So I think it was literally when I'm trying to think about it, 8 or 9 years old. I had this thing where I was a paper boy, but it wasn't only being the paper boy, which was really fun in itself, but it was winning a trip to Disney World, going from door to door, selling subscriptions to people to buy. And a lot of people didn't like the paper. It was called the Courier News in New Jersey, but they liked the fact that they were supporting an 8 or 9 year old. And it was just an amazing experience.
Nice. I love it. And whenever the Girl Guides come around, I'm like, oh, thank you guys for doing sales. We really appreciate it. They're like, you're welcome. No matter what anybody else says. You're doing awesome. Love to encourage little kids. You have been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. It's great to get to know you, and I appreciate this conversation today.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you too, and I know how valuable your time is. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedlick. Thank you for showing up today. We appreciate you being here. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.